Imagine a quiet town in America, 1943. The streets are emptying slowly, almost unnoticeably at first. Shopkeepers close their stores without announcement. Children's laughter fades from playgrounds. Mailboxes stand untouched for days. No one knows exactly why, or perhaps they are told to pretend they don't. It is a town that appears ordinary in every way. Brick houses, white picket fences, cornfields stretching for miles. People wave to their neighbors, attend church, live simple lives, and yet, beneath this calm, there is a tension, a sense that something unseen is moving, quietly, systematically, like a shadow creeping across the landscape. The orders arrive in envelopes marked confidential. No explanation is offered. Families are told they must leave immediately. One suitcase per person. No extra belongings. Vehicles are assigned by color-coded cards. The townspeople obey without protest. Some whisper, questioning why they must go, but the envelope is clear. Compliance is mandatory. By nightfall, the town is almost empty. Only a few souls remain, elderly residents, too frail to travel. A postman who refuses to abandon his route. A curious boy who hides in the attic to watch. They see soldiers moving silently through the streets, guiding people into trucks and buses. No one speaks, no one shouts. Even the dogs seem to understand the gravity of the moment and remain quiet, tails tucked. Inside one of the buses, a young woman clutches her child. Her husband stares out the window, eyes fixed on the houses that will never be theirs again. She whispers, "Where are they taking us?" He shakes his head. No one knows the full answer. The soldiers do not explain. They never explain. Maps are burned in the town hall. School records are boxed up and removed. Photographs disappear from family albums under orders to protect the mission. Any attempt to keep track of possessions or histories is systematically erased. By morning, the town is a ghost town. Quiet streets, empty porches, doors closed tight. Not a single official trace remains that the town ever existed in the first place. The soldiers who orchestrated the evacuation operate with precision. Every movement is calculated. Any civilian who lingers is gently guided along more, ignored until they follow. Rumors float among the evacuees, experiments, military testing, or secret intelligence. The adults are too fearful to ask. The children do not yet understand that this is more than a simple relocation. Night falls, a mist rolls over the town. Shadows stretch across empty streets. Windows are dark. The wind whispers through the bare trees, carrying echoes of laughter and footsteps that no longer exist. A single lantern flickers outside what used to be the bakery. It wavers, then dies. By the time the last bus leaves, the town is gone not from memory, but from official records. Maps, census data, mail routes all have been altered or destroyed. Future travelers will pass through empty fields, unaware that once a vibrant community stood here. Historians decades later will search archives, only to find blacked-out pages, shredded files, and faded notations suggesting a town that perhaps never existed. Inside the buses, people huddle together. They are silent. They are confused. Some clutch letters. Some cling to photographs, all wondering if the lives they knew have truly ended. No one speaks of the soldiers' faces. They are faceless, professional, precise. Only the memory of the town lingers in whispers. One father looks at the fields as they drive past. Corn rustles in the wind, waving like hands bidding farewell. He wonders, will we ever return? no one can answer him. The question itself feels dangerous. Curiosity is a risk in this evacuation. By the second day, rumors start to circulate among evacuees. Some speak of towns that were relocated before, towns that disappeared from maps, towns erased. Adults exchange nervous glances. Children sleep fitfully, sensing the tension they cannot understand. The journey is long, quiet, and deliberate. Each mile is measured to keep the evacuees in strict control. A mother whispers to her daughter, "We'll remember this place, won't we?" But memory alone cannot defy the erasure. Letters sent home are intercepted, photographs are confiscated, names are recorded in code, or not at all. If anyone asks later, there will be no record. This town, once alive, will fade from official memory as if it never existed. At night, in a temporary encampment far from the town, soldiers set up tents in perfect order. Families rest uneasily on cots. The youngest children do not sleep, they watch the dark, sensing that something has changed forever. Somewhere in the distance, a lone dog howls. No one notices. Inside one of the tents, an elderly man speaks quietly to a young boy. "You must remember this," he says, "even if no one else does. Some things cannot be forgotten." The boy nods, but he does not yet understand the weight of that warning. Memory is fragile, and history is fragile too. When orders dictate erasure, both can be broken. As the night deepens, shadows grow long across the camp. Soldiers check the perimeter silently. Every detail of the evacuees' movements is recorded, but none of it will ever appear in official files. The operation is a success. The town has vanished. Not physically it exists, for now, but officially, historically, it no longer exists. The evacuees do not know where they are going, only that they must follow instructions. Some pray, some cry, some sit in stunned silence. And somewhere in the back of their minds, they understand that life as they knew it has been replaced with uncertainty, secrecy, and a knowledge that history itself will not protect them. This is just the beginning. The buses stop in a location that looks like a military camp, but is strangely silent. No other soldiers are present outside the immediate operation. Everything feels rehearsed, precise, as if a shadow has planned this evacuation decades in advance. Families disembark cautiously. Eyes scan the surroundings. Nothing seems familiar. Nothing is explained. Inside one large tent, officers gather around maps that do not match any public charts. Names are scribbled, crossed out, erased, rewritten in codes that no one else can understand. These officers speak in hushed tones, not because the evacuees are present, but because even their voices feel heavy with secrecy. Every command, every movement is documented, but the documentation will vanish in weeks, months, or years. A teenage boy clings to his mother, sensing fear but unsure of its source. She whispers softly, trying to comfort him, but even her words betray uncertainty. Everyone in the camp understands one unspoken rule. Ask too many questions, and you risk being separated, reassigned, or worst. Over the next few days, evacuees begin to notice the strangeness of their surroundings. Nothing is marked. Roads are unnumbered. Signs point nowhere. Soldiers move silently between tents, observing, measuring, calculating. Sometimes a family is quietly shifted from one tent to another. No explanation is given. The children sleep poorly, waking to the hum of engines or the shuffle of feet. Whispers among the adults begin, carefully, as though speaking too loudly will make the wrong people appear. Rumors grow, secret experiments, hidden military bases, intelligence operations nobody is allowed to speak of. Some speak of other towns that were similarly relocated, towns that vanished without trace, towns erased as if they never existed. In the evenings, a few brave souls venture to the edge of the camp. They peer over fences and hills, trying to see beyond the perimeter. But what lies beyond is a landscape intentionally unrecognizable. Fields stretch endlessly, forests hide paths, roads bend in loops. It is impossible to know which way home is or if home even exists anymore. At night, soldiers conduct inspections that feel ritualistic, almost ceremonial. Evacuees are counted repeatedly, their names cross-checked against invisible lists. A minor mistake, a hesitation, a misremembered fact can result in a family being isolated. No one is told why. Silence has become as much a rule as the instructions they were given. Inside the largest tent, a middle-aged man, a former postmaster, quietly writes letters he will never send. His pen scratches softly against paper, capturing memories of streets, neighbors, the smells of the bakery and the schoolyard, all destined to vanish. These letters are folded, hidden in his coat, a fragile attempt to preserve history that official records are determined to erase. A young woman, clutching her child, notices one of the officers staring at her, expression unreadable. He does not speak. His eyes hold a warning. Forget too much, or the world will forget you. Days turn into weeks. The operation continues. Supplies arrive and vanish. Some evacuees are taken to other temporary locations. No one knows the larger plan. Officially, it is a relocation. Practically, it feels like a vanishing. Families begin to feel the weight of absence, the absence of explanation, of certainty, of recognition. One elderly man whispers to a neighbor, "I have lived through wars before, but I have never seen the government erase people like this." The neighbor nods slowly, understanding that the words themselves could be dangerous. Memory becomes a shared secret, a fragile bond that keeps them human, while the world insists they are not. Inside the camp, strange occurrences begin. Shadows move where no one is. Objects are rearranged mysteriously overnight. Tents are subtly shifted. Some evacuees suspect surveillance more than ordinary soldiers can provide. Others sense something almost supernatural, as if the town itself resists erasure in quiet ways, leaving subtle reminders of its existence. The children, sensing the tension but lacking words, begin to draw maps, sketch houses, note familiar streets. They hide these in shoes, coats, anywhere they can. Adults try to stop them, fearful that keeping such evidence will bring punishment. But a silent understanding persists. If no one else preserves the town, they must. Occasionally, the evacuees hear rumors of distant towns that disappeared without warning. Families relocate, soldiers move in, and in a matter of hours, it is as if they never existed. These stories are never confirmed. They are whispered in corners, shared in moments of despair. Each rumor strengthens the unspoken dread. History is fragile, and their lives are now part of a disappearing act. By the third week, exhaustion sets in. Families move like shadows, eyes downcast, bodies careful not to draw attention. Some sleep in fits, some stare into darkness, some pray. A mother tells her child, "We are invisible now," a statement half joke, half truth. Then, One night, an event changes everything. A distant explosion echoes through the camp. Not a bomb, not a crash, something subtle, impossible to identify. The soldiers react instantly, not alarmed, not surprised, but methodical. Families are herded silently to inner tents. No explanation is given. The children sense tension. The adults obey without question. In the morning, when the families are allowed out, there is a new perimeter, a new layer of control. What happened the night before is never explained. No one asks, because they understand instinctively. Curiosity here is dangerous. Questions can disappear you. Among the evacuees, a young father keeps a journal, recording what he sees, what he feels, what he fears. His hand shakes as he writes. He knows the ink may never survive, that the pages may be destroyed. Still, he writes, because someone must remember, even if the world refuses. By the end of the month, families begin to understand the cruel logic behind their evacuation. This is not punishment. This is not a simple relocation. This is a systematic erasure. The town they came from is not lost officially, it is deleted. Every street, every building, every life here exists only in memory, carefully guarded and quietly preserved by those who survived the night. And in that quiet, a singular truth emerges. History does not only remember those who lived. Sometimes, history deliberately forgets, and those who survive must carry the weight of memory alone. Months pass, and the evacuees are no longer in buses, tents, or temporary camps. They are scattered across distant locations, relocated to towns and farms that feel nothing like home. Each place is chosen with purpose, isolated enough to prevent questions, quiet enough to keep memories buried. The soldiers overseeing them have left, but the invisible rules of the operation persist. Families walk through streets that will never remember them. Shops open and close, indifferent. Children go to schools where no one asks where they came from. The mother with the young child still whispers at night, recounting fragments of the town they lost, the bakery, the playground, the church bell that rang every Sunday. She worries that memories alone will fade. She tells her child, if we forget, it's like we were never there. The child nods, not fully understanding, yet feeling the weight in a way only innocence can. Adults begin to notice the long shadows of absence around them. Conversations with neighbors are strained. Any mention of the vanished town brings confusion or silence. Official records have adjusted their lives into compliance. Addresses are changed. Names are altered. Jobs are assigned as if the town had never existed. Even family histories are recoded in municipal files. Some of the evacuees attempt to contact relatives in other states, only to find that letters are delayed, intercepted, or returned without explanation. Photographs they kept secretly are confiscated if discovered. Memories themselves feel policed. The very act of remembering becomes dangerous, a fragile rebellion against enforced silence. One young father finds a group of older evacuees who speak in hushed tones about the same operation. They exchange details cautiously, comparing fragments of recollection. Stories overlap, contradict, and confuse, but the core truth is undeniable. The town they once lived in is erased. They realize that even discussing it publicly could bring scrutiny or disappear them entirely from official acknowledgement. Years pass. Children grow up with ghost memories, fleeting images of a town they never revisit, a town that exists only in whispered stories. Adults age, carrying the weight of absence. Some suffer breakdowns. Some become silent, withdrawn, unable to reconcile their official records with lived reality. One man, decades later, returns to the area of his childhood town. He expects to see fields, streets, houses, but finds nothing. Where the school once stood is empty earth. The church is gone. The roads have been rerouted. Locals shrugged when asked. "What town?" they say. The name has vanished, almost literally erased from the landscape and maps. He walks through the fields, feeling the weight of absence, like a physical force pressing down on him in quiet moments. Survivors speak of the emotional cost. Marriage bonds strained, friendships dissolved, children who never met siblings because relocation split families. Trauma settles like dust over memory. Even small joys carry a shadow, a reminder of what was forcibly taken. A mother keeps a single photo hidden under her pillow, a faint image of the town square. It is worn, corners torn, colors faded. Each night she touches it, whispering to the children who never knew the streets they will never walk again. She does this quietly, knowing that if anyone else sees, even in passing, questions might arise. And questions are dangerous. The official archives are still silent. Historians, searching for evidence, find only fragments, shredded letters, redacted forms, blacked out maps. Some details hint at military involvement, others at civil experiments, but no conclusion is permitted. The evacuee's existence is acknowledged only in whispers, diaries, and faint memories. The human cost is not just immediate. Generations grow up believing in a story half told. Parents attempt to explain to their children the lives they lived before the evacuation, but the absence of records makes it feel unreal. How do you teach a child about a town that officially never existed? How do you convey love, loss, and belonging when the place itself has been deleted? And yet, some survive not only physically, but mentally resilient. They create new lives, small victories against erasure. They name their children after streets, after the bakery, after teachers whose faces they barely recall. They whisper the town's name quietly, never writing it, never broadcasting it, but keeping it alive in the fragile medium of memory. When the last of these survivors dies, the town remains a ghost, absent from maps, absent from books, absent from the collective memory. Only the stories, carried in quiet hearts, preserve it. And in that absence, the truth becomes heavier. History is not just made by the lives that are remembered. It is defined by those deliberately forgotten. The town that vanished overnight is not simply a tale of relocation. It is a lesson in erasure, secrecy, and the weight that silence carries. Families endured the relocation, survived the suppression, and yet, decades later, the impact remains. Their lives were altered, their memories policed, and the world never acknowledged the town that once thrived and then quietly ceased to exist. This is the human cost, not death, not tragedy in the conventional sense, but disappearance. Officially, they never lived here, but those who remember know the truth, and that truth, heavy as it is, exists only in the minds of the living, the ones who carry the vanished town inside them, silently forever.